In this video, we're going to talk about hanging this tongue and groove on my ceiling and some tools that I used to make it happen. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. My name is Jeff Ferris on the Hat Homestead, and if you've been watching my videos, I'll put a link over here to, where is it over here? Somewhere in one of the corners, in the far right corner or something like that. To my video on hanging my tongue and groove. I had some folks help me out, and they were great help. I'm no expert, never done it before in my life, so I probably did it totally wrong, but you know what? It's still up there, and it's been a few weeks, so it must be okay. So let me just kind of go over with what we used to put up there. Obviously a ladder. I'm not going to show you the ladder because it's kind of obvious. A-frame ladders, you know, your standard step stool ladder, somehow to get you up to the ceiling itself. And then from there, you want to make a couple of these. And I've got two different sizes. And just because that's how it turned out. And what I did was, going through some of these tongue and grooves, some of them were in really bad shape, you know, they were just twisted. And so those are the ones I used, and I just randomly cut. One's longer than the other, that's no big deal. That's the way it turned out, because I didn't measure, I just cut. Put a couple screws through here, a couple more on the other side. Now, it's important on how you put these together. If you noticed, right here, it's been knocked in with the hammer. This one, I end up just butting it up against the piece here. This one, it's out a little bit. That's no big deal. Just that's the way it worked out. Probably better if it's this way, because when you use your mallet to pound, you've got more surface space here to knock on as opposed to this. So it's important that they are done with the groove side and then the tongue on this side, because you're going to chinker this up here. But it's important that you go with the groove side in. And the reason why you want to do the groove side is because when you go to put them up on the ceiling, you want to start with the tongue facing inward. So as you install them, you're installing them basically like this. Now, this may be wrong, but this is the way we did it, and we loved how we did it. Because if you try it this way, and you go in this way, it didn't seem to work as nicely, in the sense that when we get to the very end and we have to knock it, you know, we only are dealing with a short piece, it just somehow it worked out better that the tongue was on the inside. Just go with me on this. This is what we did. Now, what we also did was, you want to do a tape measure of your distance. Now in my building, if you've been following, you know that not a single thing is straight, level, plumb, right angle. Yeah, this is I put a whole new definition to geometry in this building. So when we measured from here, then, because my panels were 8 foot, I got 8 foot panels. Measured it at the 8 foot mark, and then measured it all the way down. What we were looking for was, we were looking to see how many panels we would get up. And when we would measure the panels, what we would do on measuring them is we would only look at the measurement there. So we would not measure the tongue, because the tongue is going to be covered up. We would only measure this. we would measure to the edge of this here, because that supposedly would be covering the tongue. So this is all that's going to be exposed minus the tongue. So that's what we went with. And these just happen to be measured at, what does it show, 4 and technically 7/8. Some of them were 3/4. This wood should be lightweight. It should already be dried, but it will twist, warp, twist, bend on you, everything, shrink. So, but we went with 4 and 7/8. As we went across, that's how we kind of figured it out. Took our measurement, divided by 4 and 7/8. That's how many boards. Now we did not want to have a little sliver on one side because it would be hard to work with. So we tried to balance it so that we would cut this one and cut this one so that we would have at least like a 2 inches on each side is what we were going for. An example might be a piece like this. So this here would be like our end piece, and see, it would only be that much. So as we would set it up in there, we would have this up against the wall. Then we would leave maybe about 1/4 of an inch, give or take, 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch between the my wall siding and the boards. Let me show you what I did. So this gap here is what I'm referring to. Now the reason why we left that gap was for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to get covered up with some trim, but also when you kind of look down, you can kind of see how it opens up a little bit there. And again, because my wall is not straight, the reason why it's bigger down there is because I don't have OSB up on the wall yet. See? So it allows for... Now, if this is right or wrong, we don't know, but this is the way we did it. This is where we started from. You can see how the first piece is not as big as this piece. Then we go over to the other side. And the other side, this here was a little bit bigger piece, but that's just because that's the way it worked out. So we were okay with the way that this fit. Now, to put this on, you can see that's going to be difficult. You can't get the mallet up in there to knock it in. I'll show you how we did that here in a second. Now this here, we didn't have the OSB on the walls yet, so we took in consideration the OSB was like 3/8 of an inch, so we took in consideration that. Now one thing I've learned is this: when we put these up, it's actually easier to do it before you have your siding on your wall. So you have this gap, and then you can take your siding and literally slip it up in there. And what I like about that is this gave us more room to get up in there to knock it in if we needed to. And Concho, he's a nut. He was a lot of help. He just got done chasing something, so he had to come in and say hi. Oh, you want to say hi? Say hi. That's a boy. I know. But I'm trying to do a video. You want to be in the video? You already are. Yeah, I know. I'm not playing right now. I'm sorry. I have to do this, and then I'll play. I promise. I promise. Hey, all he wants to do is play, play, play. So, where was I? Okay. So, when we get to the end, the far end, we're just about done with that, and you go to put this up in there, to get it up in there was kind of difficult in the sense of, where did I put it? we used like a crowbar. So what we would do is, as we were trying to get this up in there, we'd put the crowbar and we would push it in, basically using the wall kind of as leverage. Sometimes we need to put a 2x6 up in, or a 2x4 up in there, maybe a 1x in there, something to give us some leverage. But that's how we would help push it in. On the ones leading up to it, that's where I showed you these nice deals. I recommend 2 of these because they're a great hand. They're an extra hand. So they will hold it up in there while you climb down the ladder and go up to another piece or grab your nailer or whatever. So it's a great hammer. The idea is for this to be longer than another one of these, for an example. So when it sits up on the ceiling like this, you can see now it's going to go and grab this other one, so it's going to hang better. So this one's getting put on. So as you put this on, then as you go and you beat it, it knocks it in. Sometimes you don't need to, but all these boards, they're not all perfect. Some of them are twisted and bent, and I'll show you some of that here in a second. But know this, you're going to need pieces, so even those that are really bad, just put them off to the side. You're probably going to use them in a smaller area. Now I use these rubber mallets. I had 2 sizes just because that's the way it worked out. That's a 1-pounder, that's a 24-ouncer. But I can tell you this is black. When you go to knock on here, it leaves a mark. When you're only hitting this, that's okay. But you have a tendency to go and push up. And because you have the tendency to grab this hammer and push up instead of maybe pushing up with your hand, now it leaves a black mark. So they do have other colors, maybe the white ones, or I've seen some tan brown ones. That might be better. But yeah, so I'm going to have to go up there and do some sanding because we did some marks with these. And yeah, just extra work. So I don't know if you know how to sew. You could put sew something over that so it doesn't mark it. But anyhow, rubber mallets are a must. Saw, gotta cut them. So here you go. Straight edge so you can cut the lengthwise across this way. The lengthwise so you can rip them. You can use a table saw. We just used this, a couple sawhorses, as you saw in some of the videos. Save all your scraps. This little stuff, save them. Because if you were to split this and you've already got a couple of them cut for smaller, you can make another one real quick. But you want to save all these until the bitter end, till you're totally done. Then you can burn them, trash them, compost them, whatever you want to do with them. Tape measure, obviously you need that. The nailer, brad nail. You can use the air one. This is a Ryobi Airstrike. The cordless is great because, well, you don't have to mess with the cord. And like one battery, pretty much 2 batteries did this entire ceiling. So it goes a long ways. You can adjust the depth on it and all this stuff. The brad nails, here's what I used. I don't know how many panels that was. What do you say? There was like 96 in there, and we used 2 of them. Something like that. So this is a box of 5,000, and granted we wasted some, but we use a little bit more than half of the box. So we used the 1.5, 5,000, 18 gauge. Brad nail. What's nice about the brad nail is there's a little bitty head to it. This one just happened to be bent. We pulled it out, I guess. Now on these brad nails, when we would go to put them in, we would only put them in, well, let me show you this. This is considered a 1x, it's 3/4 inches. So when you put your brad nail in, it's going to go another 3/4 inch in to your stud, your 2x, whatever, your rafter, your joist, whatever it is you're putting it into. So that 1.5 inches is all that we used on there. But we would put them, let me see how I can show you this. We actually would try to put them in, as I drop the brad nail. Here, this is just a, you go to put them in, we'll try to put them in at an angle like say. And we would try to put it right into that joint. See, right about there. Try to put it right about there. The reason being is because in that joint and going at that angle, then when I go to put this on, the nail does not get into the way, and this here should cover the nail. And if it doesn't cover it, no, so be it. I don't think we'll have a problem. Dang, dropping everything. Because of how small that is, and because you're putting it at an angle in the joint. So, what else do we use? Some of the cuts, you might have to do cuts like around fixtures and things. That's where you want to have a jigsaw. And this multi-tool is just also good just to have in case you need to trim something up. So let me show you. So see, you'll need to do it there. See, this one turned out perfect. And then I don't know how well this glare is going to work. Let's see how we can do this. See that there? That little notch. So you'll have to do some notching. I'll have some trim work around this, so it will cover this up. And let's see, anything else I want to share with you on this? Wooden pencil to mark it. Don't be afraid to measure 1,000 times. And like I said, I'm no expert at this, so maybe we did this totally wrong, but so far it's holding up and it looks awesome. 8 footers, 12 footers, 16 footers on the length, that's up to you. 8 footers by yourself is difficult to deal with. Oh, let me show you some of the warpage on some of it. Because of the way some of it warps, these things really kind of came in handy. And that's why you need the mallet at times, because they don't line up perfectly and you need a little extra oomph. And that's where the mallet can come in. And then there's some that are just so twisted that you got to use them for the short pieces because there's no way you're going to twist it. But let me show you something here. So as you look down this piece here, you can kind of see how it warps just a little bit. So that's twisted a little bit this way. It's kind of hard to tell. It's not much. You see kind of the bend in it there? See the bend down there? This one is actually real easy to put up. When they're bent like this, they're super easy to put up, because that bend actually helps hold it in place. All you gotta do is straighten it out. And because these are, I can't do it with one hand here, but because they are so lightweight and they're pretty flexible, you can bend this in place with your bare hand. Now this one, see how this one's in worse shape? Now this one, the way it's bent this way works fine. However, the problem that you run into is, see how it's bent that way? It also is bent this way. This one is going to be a bad piece, because it's going to be hard to bend this that to get it into the groove properly. So you kind of just look at the grains and kind of almost just think, well, gee, bending it this way is going to be easy, but trying to bend it this way is difficult. So those brackets help a lot, but see, there we cut the groove, and then when we went to put it up, we're like, this is not going to work. We need a straighter piece. So you could try some of these that are bent this way and see if you can knock it in place. So you could do that to see if you can bend it in place, but the way that it's bent, warped, whatever you want to call it, it kind of makes it difficult on one way as opposed to the other. So when you see some of them that's just kind of curved, those are easy to work with. In fact, we kind of almost got excited over those because we knew that they would snap in actually. So they kind of hold themselves in place once they're in place, which was kind of nice. The 1.5" brad nails, a lot of you may think, well, gee, that's not going to hold anything. Well, you're not going to use these to really attach something to hang off of. If you're going to hang something from the ceiling, you want to make sure that it's going through a rafter, you put up a 2x4 framing first, something like that up there, so that you're actually going through this and into that 2x4 and you're not hanging it off of this. Or yeah, it's just going to pull those brad nails right out and you just will have your whole ceiling will come down. So you don't want to attach it to just this, you want to attach it to something more solid up there. So take that in consideration when you do ceiling fans. If you want to hang other stuff on there, just make sure you know where your 2x6s, 10s, 4s, rafters, joists, studs, whatever you want to call them. So I don't know, is that about it? I think that's it. These are the tools I used, and now I'm going to wait till the prices go down. Get this, guys. A year ago today, I bought one of these, a big bundle of the tongue and groove. It was like $300. My buddy called me and said when they went to finish this, he was going to bring another batch up. $1,000 in a year's time. Over 3 times the price. So anyhow, so I'm going to wait and see if it goes down. Is that $1,000? Yeah, I can do other stuff. Anyhow, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this was helpful in helping you put up some tongue and groove. Oh, do this too when you're looking at your tongue and groove. Inspect for things like this. You obviously don't want that to show. but yet this side looks good. So you'd put that upwards and this downwards. But when you also have knots, you want to look for splits and determine if that split is all the way through, or if that split is minor enough that you can, when you go to put your coating over it, when you go to seal this, are you going to be able to seal it in those holes, or does that matter to you? So, like this piece here outside of this is good. But even this is a pain in the butt too, because when you take this off, there's still glue on there, and the only way to get that off is to sand that down. So it's just like the marker with the mallet. If it wasn't for this side here would be perfect. So see how easy it is to make a mark? Alright folks, I think that's about it. Guys, subscribe, stay tuned. Thanks for hanging out with me. My name's Jeff, here at Homestead. See you, bye.